On today's episode of Hootworthy, I got to talk to Yusuf, GCA's 2024 Valedictorian. We talked about his experience at GCA, what makes Yusuf Yusuf, what the award means to him, and his plans after GCA. Enjoy the show. I have Yusuf here on Hootworthy because you are the 2024 Valedictorian for GCA. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yusuf, before we dive in though, I want you to tell me, what would you rate 10 out of 10 food-wise? What's just the perfect food to you?
10 out of 10 food-wise, that would definitely be apples, although watermelons would be very, very like near to it.
Watermelons are close.
Yeah, watermelons are amazing. They're like everything about, they have vitamins, they're juicy, they have a nice color, they're red. There's even yellow water. You ever seen a yellow watermelon?
I have not.
They're yellow watermelons. But I once sat down with half a watermelon and I woke up 30 minutes later and it was gone. I ate it. But,
oh, wow.
Yeah, but so I love watermelons, but I would say that apples, because they're healthier, I would say because they have fiber. Yeah, they're sweet, they're very crunchy.
So are you sure it's apples? Because we're pretty passionate about watermelons.
Watermelons are also seasonal, right?
Yeah.
You gotta factor in that the time.
Sure.
So like apples are just like anytime.
What apple is it for you?
Cosmic Crisp, yeah, Cosmic Crisp.
Cosmic Crisp. Cosmic Crisp is good.
It's cosmic.
It is cosmic.
Yeah, it's cosmic.
You could say it's out of this world. It's out of this world good, right?
That's true.
I like Honey Crisp. I like the Cosmic Crisp. I'm a Honey Crisp guy.
You can't stick with one. You gotta alternate.
To change it up. Yeah. I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect that. I go to the Crisp Pink as well. I don't know if you've had that one, but
Crisp Pink.
Yeah, it's very tardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Crisp Pink is good. But we could talk about apples the rest of the time if we wanted to. But congratulations again, Valedictorian. What an achievement. But what does this award mean to you? What an honor to get it. But what does it mean to win this award? What does that mean to you?
Honestly, like if I'm being completely honest, I was not expecting this at all. Like I genuinely had no idea that I was even I could even be the valedictorian.
Sure.
And there are so many times where like support was placed perfectly in my life, or like in like my parents, my teachers, my counselors, everyone, where that allowed me to get this. I can't attribute it to myself at all.
Right on.
Yeah.
So would you say that it's kind of surreal? You're still processing it?
Yeah.
Still processing like it. Maybe you think it'll become like more real when you're actually like on the stage.
Less real.
Doing the speech,
No.
You're up there.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hopefully.
Have you finished your speech? Have you written your speech? You still working through it right now?
No. I haven't even started because I keep starting and then I have so much to say, but I still have to get
right. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So, Yusuf, valedictorian is top honor of the class. You're number one, and that requires excellence. And so, what motivates you to strive for excellence, to strive to do well? What do you think motivates you?
It's a very deep question. I'll give you a deep answer, but like this is me speaking personally, so just keep that in mind. I would say, because like I don't think you can have excellence without purpose. So the same thing that drives me to excellence, the same thing that drives everything I do. Like I would say, personally, it's the purpose of life, which is, I know it's a deep thing to say.
Oh yeah,
or a bit like a broad thing to say. But like ever since I was very young, there was this quote that like really stuck with me, and I think it was from a Nobel Prize winner. But like when I looked for it again, I could never find it, so I'm not really sure who said it. But it was someone who said, if you awoke on a ship and you had no idea how you got there, the first three questions you would ask would be, how did I get here? Why am I here? And where am I going? So like that was something that really stuck with me. Okay, and then it already emphasized like the importance of like a meaning or purpose. I really didn't want to just live my life working hard and having no like transcendental purpose. And another factor was the fact that I grew up in part of my childhood was in Egypt, in a part where most of the people were under the poverty line, and the infrastructure and education and so many things are so vastly different than it is here. So I already understood that I had a huge privilege, but I needed to assign meaning to it as well. I couldn't just like go through it and then that's it. So there was a big emphasis on purpose of life.
Sure.
So that was a huge thing to me. And I won't tell you the full story, but personally speaking, the purpose of life is to worship God and God alone. And that was that's what drives me to excellence, you could say.
Sure.
And when I say worship, I don't just mean like the ritualistic things that you might think of worship. I mean worship as in everything I do in my life is dedicated towards God.
Right.
And that's the meaning of religion, by the way, in Arabic. It means deen or devotion or debt. So that's my answer. That's what I would say is what drives me to excellence. But so you asked me what this achievement means to me.
Yeah.
And all I can say is that I thank God for my success.
Sure.
And I'm going to use it in my life because, as I told you, everything in my life is dedicated towards God. I would use it to worship Him more. Like I told you, the word worship doesn't only mean just like prayer and those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the Prophet taught us that a different form of worship called islah, which is betterment of society. So I would go back, for example, one of my goals is to go back to Egypt and try to help and better society there. So that's what I mean when I say that. And that's what motivates me towards excellence.
Right. Yeah. Living intentionally. That's super important. So, what sort of challenges have you come across, and how have you overcome those challenges, Yusuf?
I'll tell you some challenges, but first I'll tell you that I feel like there are two aspects of challenges or obstacles in your way. There are like the mental implications and the actual practical course of action that you have to take now that there's a challenge there, right? And I think that the hardest thing for me are the mental implications, right? So for example, my mom got cancer in my 9th grade year, but alhamdulillah, she's good now. And the actual practical course of action was the same thing. I just had to study. But the mental implications are what kind of weigh you down. And there are ways to combat this. For example, the ways that I used was that I understood that this was completely, everything was decreed by God, and I had trust in God, and so I was completely content with anything, with any outcome. So that was just, it's called tawakkul. It's reliance on the decree of God. So I was completely.
It's out of your hands.
Yeah.
It's out of your control.
It's out of my hands.
Right.
And there's like a Chinese proverb that says, if there's a problem and it has a solution, then there's no need to worry. And if there's a problem that has no solution, then there's no need to worry because you can't solve it. So that's one of the things that I feel like are extremely important, tackling challenges mentally and understanding them, understanding how to tackle them mentally.
Yeah. So what are some of your hobbies? What are some of your interests, Yusuf, when you're not like just crushing it at school?
I really like running. I like running.
Who likes running?
Running is fun. Like at first, the first few minutes.
Is someone chasing you, or
no, jogging.
Doing this,
like
you're just jogging for fun.
Jogging.
Okay, yeah, you're just.
Yeah, the first few minutes are tough. Like you're out of breath, but eventually, like one step falls into another, and you just start thinking. You don't even you're not thinking about running. You're thinking about other things, and it clears your mind.
Man, how long do you have to do that for? Because I'm waiting for that to happen. Is it like, what is it, like 30 minutes? I mean, geez, but go ahead. So you're running, you're jogging.
I like, jogging and swimming as well.
Oh, swimming, okay.
But I haven't done that in a long time. I haven't ran in a long time as well. asking me this question like a few weeks before AP exams is is setting me up to feel like I don't have a life outside of school. But I also like gardening, which I do a lot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, gardening.
Y'all have your own garden
Yeah,
at
gardening,
at your home?
I guess
Your
more
place?
like yard work, because like my yard has a bunch of like trees and like a lot of shrubbery that I have to clear.
So you do a lot of like landscaping and yard work, that sort of.
Anything that's just tedious and it I don't have to really think about it much, and then it clears my mind.
Yeah. So if you could give some advice to your fellow classmates as valedictorian, I feel like you have an authority here to give some advice. What would you say to your classmates about like what kind of advice would you give them?
I was just about to say I don't think I have the authority to give advice, because I
Oh, for sure.
but I do have advice from someone else that I can give.
Okay.
It's a saying, like a story that like a famous Muslim scholar said. His name is Yasser Dosari, and he said there was a man who he said I want to change the world, and then some time passed, and he found out he couldn't change the world, and then so he said I'm going to change my country, and then some time passed, and he couldn't change his country. So then he said his city, and then he couldn't, and then his neighborhood, and then he couldn't. His house, his household, his family, he couldn't, until he reached his deathbed, and he tried to change himself, his heart, but he couldn't, because obviously it was too late. So he said, if only I had started with myself, rather than like biting off more than you can chew, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
He could have maybe changed the world. So I would say the first thing that you need to do, if you want to make an impact, is to fix yourself.
Yeah, start with yourself. That's a great insight, and then you can have a ripple effect from there, from yourself. So when you think about your time at GCA, what's a funny, or it doesn't have to be funny, but like a memorable moment from GCA that you can recall that you want to share?
It was funny and memorable. But my 9th grade literature teacher, her name is Mrs. Driver, and she used to have this thing called green period, where it was like the last period of the day, and we would study there. But if we like finished early or something, we would like sometimes she would let us play or do whatever. So I didn't really partake because I didn't like Among Us, but we used to play Among Us.
So what did you enjoy about being a student at GCA, Yusuf? What as you look back or think about, like, man, this is what I really enjoyed about being a student at GCA?
Well, the obvious answer is like flexibility, because you can do GCA anywhere and like fit it around your schedule and everything. But I feel like, so that's the obvious answer. I feel like that's understood. But something that I really, really like about GCA that I feel like other schools, especially brick and mortar schools, don't have, is like how, when you're in a class, there's a chat feature and then there's the teacher talking. The way that we can have a continual discussion without interrupting the teacher's teaching, and he can teach and then incorporate our feedback. It's a dynamic that I feel like is very valuable, and it gives a lot of advantages to this like type of learning that other schools don't have.
Sure.
So, for example, in my AP Government class right now, we have the most like amazing and deep conversations about politics, because it's an AP Government politics course, and governments and all this, that I feel like would be almost impossible in a classroom where the teacher teaches, then waits, and then the students talk.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah, no, that's a great insight. This idea of you can have a simultaneous conversation where there's a lecture, but it's also not interrupted, because y'all can kind of chat back and forth, comment on what the teacher's saying as they're saying the thoughts, and then you can even reference it back, right? Like say, oh, I forgot what I said. Or you can just scroll up and see what was in the chat. That's a really good insight. And you're right, that's something that an online classroom environment has that brick and mortar's missing out on. So Yusuf, when you think about the future, when you think about your plans after GCA, so you're about to graduate, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I know that's crazy. You're like, man, I could see myself doing anything. But if that's too much, just like, what would you like to do? Like, what is your future? What would you like your future to look like? What do you anticipate? What your plans after GCA and maybe five years ahead, if you could idealize it?
Well, it's a pretty boring answer because I want to be a doctor, so I'd probably just be in medical school.
That's not boring.
Still studying.
Yeah, that's good though. That's good. You'd like to be a doctor. Do you know what kind of doctor yet, or?
Yeah, an oncologist. But it's not like I know people might assume like, okay, he wants to be an oncologist because he had like an experience with cancer and all that. But it's not really that. I want specifically oncology or specifically like a field in doctors in medicine. But I want to be a doctor because of the I really admire and I have a deep connection with the direct help and the direct impact that you can create as a doctor.
Right.
And it's a very like personal type of impact because you're helping a person in front of you that's in a very bad situation, but you have the knowledge, the experience to help them through it, and that's like I love that.
Yeah. And where are you going to school for it?
I still haven't gotten all my acceptances.
Okay.
But
where would you like
acceptances?
Right.
I mean,
where
all
would
my
you,
decisions.
Right.
But,
where would you like to go then?
I'd love to go to Cornell because it has a very good program. But realistically, I'd probably go to Georgia Tech because I got accepted there.
Oh, right on. Well, hey, who knows? Maybe, yeah, who knows? Cornell. So, Yusuf, you're knocking it out of the park. Valedictorian, congrats again. You're representing GCA so well. You're going to be at graduation on the stage doing the speech for all your peers, inspiration, and just an excellent example for GCA. And just representing GCA, just killing it. So, any shout outs though? I know you said at the beginning of this, you were like, man, I couldn't have been here if it wasn't for these people. So who do you want to shout out but before you get out of here?
Okay, I'll go through them quickly. Like above all, my parents. My parents worked impossibly hard for everything that allows me to be where I am. And then my counselors, Mrs. Medina Al-Wakil Dawson. She was my first counselor. Everything she did, she helped me through so many things. My current counselor, Ms. Wiley, who helped me through college applications. My teachers, Mrs. Rodney, who's incredibly patient with me. Mrs. Driver, Mrs. Henderson, Mr. West, Mrs. Callahan. So many teachers that I'm probably forgetting, and my brothers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Yusuf, congrats again. We can't wait to see what you do. We know your future's bright. And thanks again for coming on Hootworthy, and stay Hootworthy.
Thank you so much.